Things are looking good for the Kamala Harris campaign. We're finally starting to get some data to back up the shift in vibes that everybody's been feeling. And now, the Kamala Harris campaign is considering deploying a secret weapon that surely would have a huge impact on the campaign trail. I'll tell you guys all about it coming right up. The election handicapper Cook Political Report is now shifting 3 battleground states' ratings in favor of Kamala Harris. Arizona, Georgia, and Nevada were listed as lean Republican in early July when it was Biden versus Trump. And now, Cook Political Report is shifting all 3 of those battleground states to toss-up. That is a huge deal for the Kamala Harris campaign. In such a short amount of time, they have managed to take 3 of the battleground states and put them back in the toss-up category, joining other battleground states like Michigan and Wisconsin. According to Cook Political Report, the explanation is as follows. For the first time in a long time, Democrats are united and energized, while Republicans are on their heels. Unforced heirs from both Trump and his vice presidential nominee, J.D. Vance, have shifted the media spotlight from Biden's age to Trump's liabilities. In other words, the presidential contest has moved from one that was Trump's to lose to a much more competitive contest. That's from Cook editor-in-chief Amy Walter. Cook Political Report cites average polling for this determination. They point to states like Georgia, where Trump was leading by almost 6 points, as you can see here, right when Biden dropped out on July 21st. But now that Kamala's in the race, the polling in Georgia has essentially tied. And another election handicapper, Sabato's crystal ball, also recently shifted the rating of 3 states in favor of Kamala Harris. According to an article in The Hill, Sabato's crystal ball moved its rating of Minnesota and New Hampshire from leans Democratic to likely Democratic, and Georgia from leans Republican to toss-up. And they added an explanation. In the few weeks that Vice President Kamala Harris has emerged as Democrats' standard bearer, she has reset the electoral map to some degree, as she has polled better than President Biden was performing before he ended his campaign. Now, polls aren't everything, and the campaign needs to keep the energy up and cover a lot of ground between now and November. They are essentially reintroducing themselves to America as the Kamala Harris and Tim Walz campaign. A lot of people are not familiar with these two and the policies that they'd like to implement if they do get into the White House. No doubt, big stars like ex-President Barack Obama will hit the campaign trail as surrogates for the Harris-Walz campaign. There'll also be celebrities. Hopefully, Beyonce and Taylor Swift, for example, will be doing fundraisers or concerts on behalf of the candidates. But the Harris campaign might just have a secret weapon to deploy that a lot of people haven't been considering. According to Political Playbook, aides to President Biden and Harris are considering plans to bring President Biden back to the campaign trail. That's according to 3 officials familiar with the plans. Biden is expected to be deployed strategically, such as to states he won in 2020 like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, and target constituencies where he polled well, such as older white voters. Some people might question putting Biden out there on the campaign trail out of concerns that he won't do well. But remember, President Biden does phenomenally when he's in front of teleprompters and energized by a crowd.
And I know how to do this job. I know how to get things done. And I know, like millions of Americans know, when you get knocked down, you get back up.
This was one of his strong suits, to go out there and hit the campaign trail. Yes, he's slowed down considerably in these later years, but he still has a lot of juice in him, and he can get a crowd fired up. I also think this would be a sort of farewell tour for President Biden. There are a lot of people out there that appreciate what President Biden has done and want to show him that affection. And for him to go out on stage and the audience cheer him on and that rub off on Kamala Harris would be great. If you guys recall, right after Biden dropped out of the race and endorsed Kamala Harris, she went to the Biden-Harris campaign headquarters to rally the troops. and Biden was on speakerphone as she spoke to the staff in the office, and they had a warm exchange, and you could just tell that there was love and friendship between these two people. And I think that's a benefit for Kamala Harris to display that on the road.
Joe, I know you're still on the call, and we've been talking every day. You guys heard it from Doug's voice. We love Joe and Jill. We really do. They truly are like family to us. And we do, everybody here does.
It's mutual.
I knew you were still there. You're not going anywhere, Joe.
I'm watching you, kid. I'm watching you, kid. I love you.
I love you, Joe. Oh.
There are still a lot of people out there that appreciate President Biden, and they may harbor some salty feelings about how this whole process went down. So I think it would make a huge difference for Biden to be out on the campaign trail to some degree with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, showing that he fully endorses them and that he's happy to see them take the torch and move this country in the right direction. So I understand if people are nervous about something like this, but I think Biden would do great. I think he'll be fine. And Kamala Harris and Tim Walz can take the spotlight and just use Biden to help bolster their campaign even further. So I like this idea, and I'm excited to see Biden get out there and get the appreciation from the people that he truly deserves.